Hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Funny Shrink Podcast. I'm here with Frank King, and we have a very special guest this weekend, Jim Mendrinos. I love Jim Mendrinos. Let me tell you why. Jim Mendrinos is a Renaissance man. He has done it all from starting stand up at 19 to writing for numerous TV shows. He also has an extensive career touring the world doing stand up, helping to create an incredible mark, helping to leave an indelible mark on society we live in. I swear to God, guys, I'm getting old. I need glasses. He was also the co-creator and mastermind behind the New York Underground Comedy Festival, launching the careers of several stand-ups and allowed for over 70 new comedians to be featured on TV. His newest venture, New Media Comedy Productions, is just one of his many talents ventures. Please check out his Amazon Prime comedy special, Not Dead Yet. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Jim Mendrinos.
Wow.
Yay!
It actually sounds like I have a career.
You have a career.
You amass things when you're around as long as I am.
When I was writing this, I'm like, God damn, I'm a nobody. Like, it was amazing. I've always been a huge fan of yours.
Oh, thank you. It's funny though, because I was interviewing Tom Dreesen for a project, and I'm writing, the intro for Tom, and I'm going, oh yeah, I haven't done crap. I've done nothing. There's always a bigger fish in this business. Always
a bigger
fish.
Didn't Tom Dreesen open for Sinatra or something?
Yeah, Sinatra's opening act for like 14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a big one. Open for a crowd of 80,000 in Hawaii. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, but you are the beef master.
I was the beef master many years ago.
No more?
No, I haven't done that joke since the 90s.
I know nothing of the beef master.
Yeah, tell me again, Jim. Why I could not? My lovely wife Wendy, by the way, we're still married 33 years.
Awesome.
Because Jim and I and Wendy were there because Wendy traveled with me.
Yeah.
So explain the beef master to me again.
Okay, so I don't know if we were on the gig together or I worked with you a couple of weeks after, but I was driving through West Virginia. Just one of those Keith Gisser road gigs many years ago. And there's a chain of supermarkets called the Beef Master. And in the drunken thing you do comic-wise, I said, that sounds like the world's worst superhero. And I just kept doing superhero lines like, Beef Master, save me. You'll never get a Beef Master. She'll be skewered first, and London will broil. And they were just all these horrible beef puns. And then whenever I got an audience that I really hated, and I mean really, and we worked together a lot of crappy gigs over the years.
Yeah.
You get those audiences that just are giving you nothing. I would just start doing that to make the comics in the back of the room laugh. And so, oddly, clubs started advertising, direct from New York, the Beef Master, Jim Mendrinos, and they're like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that honestly. I'm doing that sarcastically. I'm calling your audience stupid. You really don't want to advertise that.
No.
But it's what stuck with comics because it really made fun of the audience so hard. I basically was calling them all country bumpkins to their face and not even dealing with it.
Yeah, well, some of the gigs, those one-nighters we played back in the day, some of those comedy zones, I'm not saying everybody in a comedy zone is a Bible-thumping, race-baiting, homophobic redneck who thinks the Holocaust is fake and wrestling is real, but...
I'll say it.
Yeah.
Vietnam, did you do Fayetteville?
You mean Cagney's?
Yeah, it was affectionately referred to by comics in New York as Vietnam because that's where he went to die.
I worked with Steve Epstein, one of the Texas outlaw comics. Yeah, and Steve told a joke or two, and they just stared at him. He goes, you guys are that effing stupid. It's going to be a long night. And I'm like, it's half military, half biker bar. We're going to have to fight our way out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually was there on the night of a riot. It was It's a lovely place.
They had the doors, the exit doors chained shut so nobody could sneak in. I said to the owner, I go, look, I'm not getting on stage because that's my way out if, we all go white snake.
Yeah.
And I called the fire department, unbeknownst to them, and turned them in.
Yeah.
Because I need a way out.
Yeah. Nobody likes to be locked into a club.
Yeah. Do you remember the Comedy Catch in Chattanooga?
Yeah. Oh, man. I haven't played that since when it first opened in 88. I did it, and then I just went never again.
Yeah, and they had a room, long room.
Yep.
Brick. And from the stage, the only way out was all the way at the other end of that. It made me nervous. I couldn't.
And they had one spotlight that was blaring in your eyeballs the entire time. Yeah. Oh, I remember them well.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into comedy?
Well, I'd always loved comedy. I was a strange 8-year-old kid who would sit and watch the Dean Martin roast and then the next day go to school and do a Foster Brooks impression to a bunch of other 8-year-olds looking at me like, what are you doing? And it was dead on, too. I had the hiccups down. And then I always loved comedy. And then I saw Freddie Prinze. I saw Freddie Prinze on The Tonight Show, and he talked about having an immigrant dad, and I had an immigrant dad. And he talked about, living in a tenement, and I lived in a tenement. He talked about having a crazy super, and I had a crazy super. And it was, you love at first sight. I mean, the first man crush of all time, probably Freddie Prinze. And I said, that's what I'm going to do when I grow up. Ironically, I was about 12 and he was about 20 when I saw him on The Tonight Show. It was like an 8-year difference in our age. And I stalked him. I mean, I found out he was from Washington Heights. I lived in Manhattan. I went up to his neighborhood. I met his mom and dad. They were good people. They made me lunch. I'm not kidding you. I mean, I really was obsessed over Freddie Prinze. I met him twice, when he came to visit his parents. Like, his mom called me and said, Freddie's going to be here tomorrow. Come here. Like, yeah. I mean, she thought it was adorable that there was this kid that wanted to be just like her son.
You were an OG stalker.
Oh, big time. But I'm also 12 years old, so I look harmless. And so I knew this was what I wanted to do. And then at 18, I got into radio. I got into acting. And then at 19, I decided, okay, this is it. I'm going to do stand-up. So I waited out the line at Catch a Rising Star. And you would wait 12 hours. You would wait until 6 p.m. and people started lining up at 6 a.m. because there were only 8 numbers given out on any Monday. And if you got up to go to the bathroom, you'd lose your place online. It was just horrible. But I waited it out, and I got my number. And I went up that night. And I had been going to the comedy club for weeks before, just to make sure I knew what I was doing. And the MC recognized me from the audience, obviously. He goes, oh, yeah, I know you. You're funny. Just don't get off until you see that light. Because, like any show, the MC was looking for a bathroom break. And she left me up for 10 minutes in a 5-minute spot. Yeah. And my first 5 minutes was, well-crafted, well-scripted, and done nicely. And the next 5 minutes were hamana. And that night, I met a young lady who was another comic online. And she said that she was going to go back to her house in Nashville, and she was going to take a bus. We spent that night in a hotel in New York City. The next day, I got on a bus with her and went to Nashville, and started doing comedy for 3 months in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry. And I'd like to say that I did this as a total artistic endeavor, but I had a schoolboy fantasy of doing this. And then I got way late on my first night doing this. So it was purely an addiction at that point. And then I really started getting paid quickly. Like by December of 85, I was writing jokes for Hee Haw, because they saw me at the Grand Ole Opry. And they're like, you want to write jokes for our show? And they're like, does it pay? Yeah, it does. So I'm writing jokes for Hee Haw, and it was just great. I'm a 19-year-old kid making a crap. I would make more money at 20 that, working 1 or 2 nights a week doing stand-up than my dad did working a 40-hour-a-week job, cooking in a restaurant.
Whoa.
Ridiculous.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I just never stopped. But I fell into it, and I think had I not have gotten laid that first night, I'd probably be like the funniest accountant you've ever met. But when I realized you could get girls by doing this too, it was like a no-brainer.
Thank God for sex, because I don't know how many it would be without you.
It'd be doing just fine. Different, but just fine.
Well, you wrote The Idiot's Guide to Comedy Writing, which I love. I love that book. I just ordered another copy because I lost it when I broke up with my ex and left all my books at the place we were living.
Oh, well, let me just say the place you have now looks lavish. That is some fancy digs you got behind you.
Do you like my piano?
I do. Your piano's on the other side.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. The image just flipped.
I have a brain injury.
I did. Why don't you walk over and play a little bit? Later. Save that for later. Don't give up the illusion.
So this is the Funny Shrink podcast. We talk about traumatic events. Do you have any?
A lot of them.
Yeah, besides working with me, what we're
that wasn't traumatic. If I remember, that was drunken, but it wasn't traumatic. Yeah, we did 2 weeks together at the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale. So there was lots of drinking, lots of drugs, lots of just craziness.
That's right, because they used to book it 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah, and you'd go down to the 2 weeks. So it was craziness down there. The biggest thing, and probably the most recent thing, in 2014, I was taking a train trip down to Orlando, family vacation. We were all going to Disney World, and fell asleep on the train. And apparently, somebody thought it would be funny to throw debris on the track, and conductor had to slam on the brakes last second to avoid derailing, and everyone who was asleep on that train went flying. And I did, and my head hit the windshield. Skull fractures like wildfire. A concussion so bad that I forgot how to read and write. And when you consider that writing has probably been the thing that defined me my whole life, that was difficult to do. I'm so grateful that I got an awesome family that kind of shepherded me through it and dealt with my mood swings. Because when you're able to do something every day and now you can't, you become a dick. And I totally dicked out. And that's the biggest and most recent one. And it kind of makes all the other ones look minuscule by comparison because it's far reaching. I was in perfect health with a lot of money and, a career that was moving fast. And then 2 years where I couldn't work at all. Life savings gets eaten up through, the medical bills and, the one thing that defines you have to relearn how to do. So it was really humbling on every level. And I mean on every level.
How did you turn it into comedy? How did you survive?
I eventually did. I had to do a lot of things to cope because first I had no artistic outlet, because he couldn't. I'm looking at the screen right now, Fred King, the mental health comedian, the great, I could read it perfectly fine, but I'd look at those same letters just 5 years ago and not know what they meant. The Funny Shrink, I'd look at those letters and not know what they meant. So I had to learn it again. And while I was learning it again, writing was almost impossible. So with no artistic outlet, I was going absolutely batshit crazy. Mm-hmm. And my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, went out and bought me a camera and handed it to me and went, "Go take pictures. You're a good photographer. You don't need to write anything to do this. Go take pictures." And I'm there like, I can't even set the camera up because I can't fucking read the instructions. So she read them to me. I set it up and, I started taking pictures and that gave me an artistic outlet. And while it was never as satisfying as writing, I think because I was good at it and I got a surprising amount of praise for it. And oddly, people paid me for it. So it was satisfying enough until I could catch up. The funny thing is, my doctors did not want me getting on stage because I was very prone to brain bleeds. And if you're prone to brain bleeds, if you have a lot of exertion or your blood pressure spikes, it can cause more brain bleeds. So they were there like, we don't know how you being on stage affects your blood pressure.
Wow.
Don't go on stage. And my dumbass kept going on stage and doing it just by instinct. And I would come off stage. I came off one night at Gotham in New York, and a comic came up to me and went, "That was the most amazing retro set I've ever seen." And they're like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, like all the references were from the late 80s, man. That was really cool." I was just doing whatever I could remember. And apparently that night I remembered my act from 1989. And that's what came out. So it was incredible dealing with it. I had to get on stage to just prove that I could still stand up there. And while I wasn't, before the accident, I would get on stage 10 to 12 times a week. During when I was going through it, I'd get on stage once or twice a month, just enough to, lose the fear of never being able to do it again. And, now it's getting, or pre-COVID, it was getting back to normal, back to that 10 to 12. But, it was a long road back. And if not for my sense of humor, I would not have been able to come back. And more importantly, the sense of humor of the people that are close to me. Because my sense of humor is really dark, and like I'm one of those people that will make unbelievably great suicide jokes around people, just one right after another. And if you don't know me, you tend to lean in and go, "Is everything okay?" But, I've got, a wife and a kid. When I'm doing it, we'll just lean in and start doing the same jokes with me because they get me, which was everything.
That's important. We all want to be gotten.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Tell us one of those suicide jokes. Come
on. Somebody had said tomorrow's another day. And I went, yeah, when you're suicidal, that's actually a threat. and that line, when people hear it, just tends to really upset people. There's a line that I have in my act where I talk about having lost all my life savings through medical illnesses. And I said, currently my retirement plan is a 45 and a hollow tip bullet. And when you do that on stage, people laugh, but it's that laugh and then that uncomfortable stop to the laugh, like, oh, that. And
hey, I know it well. I got to an age, I think I was in my late 50s. I got one of those advertisements in the mail for the walk-in tub.
Yeah.
And I said to somebody, I said, I got the ad for the walk-in tub. They go, yeah. I go, listen, when it gets to that point, I'm not going with a walk-in tub. I'm going with gun in mouth.
It's true. One of the things I've said it to my wife, and I'll say it on stage every once in a while. If I get to the point where I'm so old that I can't fuck or eat ice cream, just kill me. Just kill me. Just put the pillow over my face and let me go into that good night. And I'll be honest with you, as long as the ice cream is there, I think I can hang on.
Somebody said to me, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I go, yeah, kind of hard to do when you're hanging from your belt.
Yeah. Yeah. We're also at the age where we're not bendy enough to reach the bootstraps. So unless you're going to give me a hand, you need
my grandmother killed herself with a gas stove. My great aunt killed herself with a refrigerator. I said in my TED Talk, what is it with my family and major appliances? I go by a Sears, I tear up.
Oh, we need to keep you away from the microwave as you get older.
Yeah.
But humor is everything when you're dealing with crisis. If you don't have humor, you're not going to get there. There was, I had gone, and this is a point of pride, I had gone about 30 years where I never had to balance a checkbook or worry about a check. If I wanted to write a check or something, within reason. I mean, I'm not going to buy a house with the check, but within reason, if I wanted to buy something, I knew I had it. And it was very much a point of pride for me. And I remember, post-accident, somebody having to show me how to balance a checkbook because I was living that close to the bone.
Whoa.
Where I was like, yeah, that's new for me, and so you have to have a sense of humor about it,
I'm just impressed you can balance a checkbook. I've never done.
Well, when you don't have much money, it's easier to balance. Which in my heyday, I couldn't balance that book. This one, yeah, there's not enough decimal points for me to fuck it up.
I've got $20 in the dream. That's about it.
Yeah, I only got the dream. That's the sad part right now.
So these traumatic experiences sound like they've informed your comedy. Did they teach you anything about yourself you didn't already know?
Yeah, and if you're really open to the lessons, you learn something every day. I have a resiliency that I didn't think I had. I don't know what your experience growing up was, but I had an immigrant dad. So, and from Eastern Europe, Greek dad. So, would work 12 hours in one kitchen, then walk 4 blocks and work another 4 in another kitchen. Because, that's what men do to provide for their family, that kind of dad. So by comparison, I was always soft. Who's this kid? He's overeducated. He makes his living by standing on stage telling jokes. Who does he think and I had always viewed myself as lucky as opposed to resilient. And then I saw how hard I fought to get back to where I was. And not just to get back to where I was, there's still some things I've lost memory-wise that I can't seem to master. I used to play guitar. Now my hands, translation between my brain and my hands, I'm always playing the wrong chord. I haven't gotten that back yet. Certain sounds, I used to be able to remember my parents' voices. I can't remember that anymore. That went away. But I fought to get back all my reading and writing skills. I fought to get back all my cognitive skills. I fought to get back my ability to write, and I've written more in the past 2 years than in any other, 2-year period of my life. And that was all a fight that I had to learn that I was capable of, because it was really easy to just give up at that moment. When everyone was saying, just take time off, go on disability, lay on your couch, and don't worry about doing anything for the rest of your life, you're done, which is essentially what the doctors were saying. And I'm there like, no, I'm not done at 50. That's not happening.
I relate. I have a disability, as you guys know. And like when I was growing up, people would be like, yeah, just get on disability. No, I want to do something with my life.
Yeah.
And to your point, my dad his family's from Cuba, and he worked wherever he could get a job. He was educated, but he worked in freezers to support us. He was a salesman to support us. And when he saw me do stand-up one time, when I was just about to make it, I was doing a show at Gotham and Jim Gaffigan headlined. He goes, you and that Hot Pockets guy were the 2 best on this show, but don't quit your job. That was his word of advice. Don't follow your dream, just aim high enough.
Yeah. So, don't follow your dream, but just let your dream ride along with you for a while.
Yeah. On the work ethic, Jim, Larry Miller, years ago, working good nights, he had a bit about whatever happened to the Protestant work ethic. My dad, 3 jobs to put us all through college. Me, I go to the bank, the post office, I got to take a nap. How'd that happen?
Yeah. It really, but it's a misconception. We're not as soft as we think we are. No. We're not nearly as bad as we think we are. I have always in my life suffered from seasonal depression. When the winter comes, I'm miserable. Just awful. And I was going through a stretch. This is very odd. I was going through a stretch where even though I'm getting more productive, I couldn't shake the depression. Summer came and the depression stayed, and then the fall came and the depression stayed. So I was writing almost 2 years of it not ebbing. And seasonal depression, if you know anybody who has it, it's real. It feels like there's a blanket laid on you the entire time. joy exists, but you can't see it happening. And so I was in the middle of that. And when COVID hit and I realized I got a wife to take care of, I got a kid to take care of, I got other people that are depending on me, that lifted. So you find that when, you've been given that foundation of, good, solid work advice and good, solid examples from your parents, you do rise to the occasion.
Sure.
And it's odd that I'm this old when I'm discovering that. Do you know what I mean? I would have liked to have discovered that in my 20s or 30s, as opposed to just going around thinking, I'm a lucky bastard. I get to hang out at the Playboy Club and write for TV. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have it in you back then. Now you can appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we hope that that's what it is.
I can't remember shit these days, and I have a brain injury, which is fine. Like, that's level. I've known that my whole life. Once I started smoking crack and crystal meth, my brain went down. Like, I remember going blind in one eye after taking a hit and going, "Oh my God, that was good stuff. Let me do it again." And that my memory was destroyed since then. If I have to go and do like a headliner set, I'll hand my set list to someone in the audience and go, "Look, if I forget any joke at any moment, I'll look at you, just shout something out. Get me back on track."
Yeah.
To work.
It's when your whole life is about what you can do with your brain, and then you have a brain injury, that was just I can't even explain to you, how much you lose faith in why you're even here. Like, I've got no purpose other than what my brain provides. And right now my brain can't provide anything. I'm a fucking paperweight at this point, and you sit there and you go, okay, I got to get past it. Thankfully, Jesse was there, like, do something artistic. Thankfully, I had people that were pushing me, I was also horribly misdiagnosed when it happened because of concussion protocols. You guys are professionals. You know the concussion protocols. They ask you questions, and depending on how quickly you answer, they determine whether or not you have a concussion. So when the EMTs came on the train and they're like, "What's your mother's maiden name? What's your social security number? What's this? What's that?" I'm answering questions, but they don't know me. How do they know it's right? You know what I mean? And as a comic, when you've been trained for 30 years to just fucking go with the flow, they're asking me questions, and I passed the concussion protocol on the train. It was a week later I started forgetting shit. Like, I drove back to my ex-wife's house after a gig one night as opposed to the place I was living, because that's where I remembered living. Another time I was driving up to Albany, and I made it all the way into New Hampshire before I realized I wasn't going to Boston. It was like that's when it presented. So I went to the doctor and I said, "I'm having memory issues and attention span issues. I think I might have a concussion." And they go, "Well, given your age and stuff, we think this is early onset dementia." And I'm there like, 3 weeks ago, my head hit a windshield and these symptoms started presenting. So you're saying that's not the issue, that I'm actually got a debilitating disease that will kill me. And they spent a good 7 months trying to convince me that this was early onset dementia as opposed to a concussion. And then when I finally got the insurance company to give me the referral to a proper concussion clinic, the one up in Westchester, I went there, and within 20 minutes they went, "Oh yeah, you got a bad one. Holy crap." It's amazing how they wanted to be right more than they wanted to take care of the patient.
Oh yeah, doctors have the biggest egos.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's unfortunate when you have to see 20 people a day and you do a checklist of questions and give them a prescription. That's what it's become, as opposed to, all right, what's wrong? How can I fix it?
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's having people, even right down to, at that point, my ex-wife at the time, Leanne, screaming at me, "Go to a different doctor. keep screaming till you find a doctor that'll listen to you. So I had good people in my corner, and part of me worries about what about the people that don't have good people in their corner?
Yeah.
What people that don't have a support group behind them? Because I had a genuine amount of people that loved me and they're like, we're going to get through this. What happens to that guy that's alone at 50 going through this? That's my big takeaway from this. Like, holy crap, how fucking fortunate was I?
My fiance is a social worker, and she has her own business working with people with brain injuries. And I think she has a fetish because she likes me, but that's another story. And so she knows, like, all these stories you're talking about, people who have brain injuries later in life, they lose their families. Literally, they forget where they live.
Oh, yeah. I sat down, and Jessie will remind me of this on occasion. She came over to stay at my place. I was living at that time in Washington Heights, and we had gone to a play, and I couldn't remember how to get home. So she literally had to take me home and grab the keys for me, got me into the apartment, and I'm standing in the apartment that I had lived in at that point for a year and a half, and I looked around, and I said, I don't recognize anything here. I don't know any of the stuff that's in this place. Are you sure I'm in the right place? And that was the moment that she realized how bad I had gotten. That was, and we were dating at that point maybe a year, maybe. So the fact that she didn't just run and flee and just say, what the fuck did I get myself into, is just amazing. And I was able to keep working as a teacher because she would read me the students' homework, so I could comment on it.
Could you repeat that last part? I couldn't hear you, Jim.
When I wasn't able to make money as a stand-up for a while and I was teaching, I almost had to give that up because I couldn't read any of the students' work. I couldn't read or write, and she would literally sit and read me their work so that I could comment on it. So, it was awesome.
She sounds like an amazing woman.
Yeah, but it serves a hell of a lot better than me, that's for sure.
So what do you want people to know that you got coming up next? Tell us about your special.
Not Dead Yet's been running on Amazon Prime for a while. It's an hour-long special that we recorded at the comic strip pre-pandemic. And it's fun because I got to do it on my own terms, using the crew I wanted, and everyone at Amazon was great to me when we did it. So go see that. And there's a lot of other stuff that I have that's actually coming to make. New Media Comedy, my production company, is actually starting its own OTT platform. OTT platforms are things like Amazon and Hulu and Netflix. There are ways of getting television that are outside of traditional cable systems. We're starting our own one called All Media TV, and we're going to launch in August. And we've got about 60 hours of content on it to launch, and the plans are in the next year to turn that number into 600 hours of content, not just stuff we make, but stuff other people produce as well.
Jim,
yes?
We have a show pilot. It's called Mixed Nuts.
Uh-huh.
It's comedians who live with mental illness. Pilot has 4 of us on there. The idea would be each episode of one comic, kind of like a combination of dry bar comedy and the actor studio.
Yep.
So you do the stand-up and then you interview.
That's awesome. We should definitely talk, when these cameras are off, and I'll tell you all about our network. But the best part about our network is I've been putting stuff on Amazon Prime for years, but they don't pay a lot. It's nice and it's cachet, but most people have the thing of, oh, you're an artist, you need to do it for the publicity, you need to do it for this. No, we also need to do it for a check. We absolutely need to do it for a check. And on this OTT platform, we were able to work with the company that's producing it for us, and they turned around and made it so that we can, pay the content providers. So if somebody like Frank uploads his show to our network, there's a pay structure. And granted, it's not a ton because it's all subscriber based. And if we have 8 subscribers, you ain't making a lot of money. But, if you got 8 million subscribers, you do make some money. But it's nice to be able to sit there and go, okay, as an artist, I would have liked somebody to do it this way. And then as I'm designing it to go, oh, I can do it that way. That's freaking awesome. And hopefully I get a lot of artists that want to join and put content up, and and we make this a big freaking deal. That's the big thing I'm doing. We also ran, and I got to talk about this because I know Mike was around when COVID first hit. I know a lot of really young comics, like brand spanking new comics. Mm-hmm. And when COVID first hit, I was getting all of these emails and things from comics going, oh my God, I found what I want to do for the rest of my life and it's never coming back again. And Frank and I have been through this long enough that we know it's coming back.
Yeah.
AIDS epidemic hit New York. Clubs were dead for about 2 years. They all came back. After 9/11, nobody wanted to be in a crowded room because everyone thought it was a target. Clubs came back. Financial crisis, clubs come back. The second they open up the doors, there'll be audiences in comedy clubs again. Right. Will it be different? Absolutely. But we were able to put on a festival in April of this year. We relaunched the Underground Festival as an online festival where comics submitted tapes and posted sets that they had done pre-pandemic, and we put it on, and we got over 100,000 people watching it.
Whoa!
Over the course of 14 days, so we were able to do something nice for the next generation of comics too, because I've always felt, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have really funny guys reach back and teach me. If I didn't have, Sam Kennison screaming at me like, you don't give a shit about anything you're talking about. And me going, fuck, he's right. Or Bill Hicks sitting to me in the condo at Charlie Goodnight's going, you want to know what you did wrong? On a night when I clearly had a better set than that motherfucker. But he was right in his assessment. If I didn't have people that were more talented and better reaching back to help me, I would have never gotten where I am. So we're also trying to keep a wing of New Media Comedy where we can reach back and help the next generation as well. Because that's really important, because long after I'm gone, there's going to be another group of comics coming around. And we've even launched a podcast called Comedy Legacy Podcast, which we interviewed for an hour or so, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit shorter, great comics, and talk about the process. How do you write? How do you acclimate to perform? All of these things. We did Tom Dreesen. We did Franklin Ajayi. We did Anita Wise. We've gotten a lot of heavy hitters. Rob Bartlett's coming up. And, we've also gotten some surprisingly new young people that are taking approaches that are great too. But it's about passing what we know, because we've all been doing this for a while, on to that next generation.
Well, Jim.
Yes.
You should have me on.
I would love to.
And we can talk about how you go from funny speaker to speaker who's funny, and how you can make as much in a night as you do in a week headlining a comedy club if you.
Yeah. Not only do I want that for that podcast, I want to know that for myself. That's the other thing.
I had a feeling.
Yeah. What's that?
Mike, can you pass on Jim's email to me and we can start corresponding?
Will do. I think you got a great story to get booked easily doing that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be fun. But
what I miss notebooks. Like, I miss having notebooks to write in. Now it's like I have stuff in notebooks. I have stuff in phones. I used to carry around a notebook wherever I went, and there's something about writing it all down.
Yeah. Can I talk about a moment of pure joy? Because we've been talking about how you manage through crisis.
Yeah.
When I finally got my ability to read and write again, I've been writing in notebooks and on index cards and stuff since I'm 19 years old. I have a huge chest with just decades of these books that are thrown in there. And I sat down and opened that chest and read every single one of those notebooks. Started reading them again when I was able to read, and it reconnected me and made me a better comic now than I was back then. Because stuff I took for granted, it became more precious. But that ability to just reconnect with your past was awesome. And it was all those yellow legal pads, or for me, Moleskine notebooks, because I write on Moleskines all the time, and that was, it's amazing how connected comics are to their process of how they create.
Frank, what were you going to say before I cut you off?
Oh, so you talked about speaking, talked about, Jim, Mike's going to contribute to a book series that I'm involved with. It's a book on men's mental health. It's an anthology like Chicken Soup for the Soul, sort of. It's guys who everything was going great, and then the next 500 words, things went to hell in a handbasket, like the train wreck.
Yeah.
Last 500 words, how they're coping. Because we interviewed men and said, look, you got issues. What kind of help do you want from whom? They said, we want to hear real stories from real guys and how they're really coping.
Yeah.
Mike's going to contribute. Stan, a friend of Mike's, is going to contribute another comic. We'd love to have you contribute your story, your head injury. That's a great story.
I would love to. Absolutely. If you could help somebody, I'd love to do it.
Okay. I'll hook you up with the project manager, also a co-author. Mike's going to do it.
Great. Beautiful.
Awesome. It was great having you here, Jim. I love connecting with you. And are we still neighbors? You're just over in Islin or Woodbridge, right?
Yeah, my studio's over in Woodbridge. You're in Rahway, right?
Yes, sir.
That is the most beautiful home in Rahway. I do have to say, your place in Rahway behind you is just amazing. But yeah,
you like my piano? Wait, where is it? It's right
there
here.
it is. And what I really love is your fireplace. I don't recall seeing a lot of fireplaces in Rahway. I do recall seeing a lot of buildings in Rahway, but not a lot of fireplaces.
Well, and Mike said to me, we're having Mendrinos on, and I said, he's still alive? Really?
Yeah, not dead yet. Shameless plug for this.
Look at that.
There you go. You guys set me up perfectly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's the advantage of being an old pro.
So I'm just going to Twitter. Let's tell people where they can reach on social media.
On Instagram, which is mostly my photography work, is Mendrinos in Exile. At Jim Mendrinos on Facebook and on Twitter. I'm actually getting set to launch a Twitch channel, which will be awesome. That'll also be at Jim Mendrinos, but I haven't finished throwing up the content yet. Twitch is another social media platform that's mostly for gamers and people with podcasts. So I wanted to get my podcast out there. Comedy Legacy Podcast, comedylegacy.com. Go there, follow it, listen to those guys. This week, DC Benny just aired. We've got so many great people with so much to share. Just
Jim?
So much to share. Yeah.
A friend of mine and I, Jen McGinnis, comic now speaker, we're starting a podcast called Over 50 and Effing Funny. It's for guys and gals who, never quite launched to the next, but just
stratosphere.
Yeah, but are funny.
Yeah.
So
or we like to call it most of us. Most of us in our 50s.
I'm putting it down as a guest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You're a youngin', Mike, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I feel old, but I'm 44, and what's that called? A palindrome?
Palindrome.
I couldn't remember that word, and I said, yeah, I'm double digits.
We're all double digits after 10, dude. Until we reach 100. We got 90 good years of that. Oh, if I reach 100, I want one of you guys to kill me. It'll actually have to be Mike, because you'll be long gone by then, Frank.
Yeah, I am older. How old are you, Jim?
I'm 55 right now.
I'm 63. I will be gone.
Yeah, because if I make it to 100, you'd be 108. And if you're 108 and can put a pillow over my head, God bless you. That's a good life right there.
Here I come. Frank,
Yeah.
you want to take us out?
Oh, yes. If you enjoyed the podcast, please rate, review, subscribe. That really does help. If you enjoyed the podcast, please tell your friends. If you didn't enjoy the podcast, we hope you have no friends.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Jim. We loved having you.
Love talking to you guys.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'll be in touch, Jim.
You got it. Talk to you soon, Frank.